Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with me here today. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and we are here on Mi Gente on Air Live. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. And we are in the midst of a heat wave going on right here in August, but we still haven't reached the temperatures of July. July was pretty brutal, if you remember that 100 days and the humidity around the 4th of July, and then we had that bad air coming through, and then we had the cyclospora going on. We had a lot going on in Michigan as people in this state. And, I talked a little bit about in the introduction on the live feed here that, the last show that I did was on immigration and everything that we were going through as a country when we seen, immigrants that were being murdered by ICE. And so that show was really heavy the last time I was here. Today I'm going to be talking with an author, somebody who is got a book that's been published already here. It's called The Vacation, and it's reminiscent memories of when he was young and he picked cherries up in Traverse City, Michigan. Please help me welcome to Mi Gente on Air, Mr. Carlos Fuentes. Carlos, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here today. And Carlos, you're originally from Lansing, correct? Or where were you actually born?
Well, I was born in Saginaw.
You were?
Yes, but I lived, at least I've been told, I lived here for a month before my family moved to Alma, Michigan.
Okay, Alma.
Yes,
yeah.
Which is west of
M46. Many of us are familiar with Alma. It's on kind of like going towards the Lansing area where you're from now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what do you know about Saginaw? Because this is a Saginaw-based show for Latinos, but always remember that, we are doing the show to educate individuals in regards to our culture and our community. So tell me what's your knowledge in regards to the Latinos here in Saginaw.
Okay, so even though I grew up in Alma, now I live in Lansing because I retired from Michigan State University, and we would always come and see relatives in Saginaw. I had a lot of relatives on my mom's side. And then later, I got a job with General Motors, Chevrolet Saginaw Manufacturing of Genesee.
Oh, okay.
For 3 years. And during that time, loved that job. I drove a lift truck, and it was an awesome job. I went part-time to Delta Community College, which I love. That really got me a good foundation to continue on. I transferred on to Western Michigan University and eventually got an undergrad degree. So that part too, and like I said, relatives, the General Motors job, and education through Delta Community College. I love this area. Yeah, I love it.
So you're just a natural here, right?
I guess.
Kind of living what many of us here in the area have lived, that experience and all.
Let me put this in too. Back in the day, some of you old timers like me would remember the hit song, "I Was Born in Saginaw, Michigan."
Oh, yeah.
And I used to sing that song all the time.
Oh, okay. So when you talk about the plant that you worked at for 3 years at General Motors on Genesee, correct?
Yes.
Because, that's part of the whole story of so many of the families here. Their ancestors, their parents, grandparents came to the area to pick the crops or what have you as migrant workers, and then stayed because of those General Motor jobs. And that's why we have third, fourth generation of Mexican Americans here in the Saginaw area. Is that kind of what your family did? And you mentioned your family. Tell us a family name so we can all kind of connect the dots.
Well, my uncle, my mom's brother, actually he retired from Gray Iron.
Okay.
General Motors job, right? And then I had other relatives, all on my mom's side.
What was the family name, though?
There'd be the...
it's not Fuentes.
No.
Oh.
And many of them, I'm drawing a blank right now, but also want to mention that many of them went to the 17th Church.
Oh, okay.
The Spanish Asamblea de Dios. I was raised in a Pentecostal family, and my grandpa Fuentes, my dad's father, was a Pentecostal preacher from McAllen, Texas.
Oh,
And,
wow.
But on my mom's side, they were also Pentecostals, and the way they came up in mid 1930s was working in the sugar beet and the cucumber fields outside of Elma, and then also here in Saginaw. So there's just all those intersections, all those roots,
Yeah,
here
and
in
that's what they
Saginaw.
are. They're definitely roots.
Yeah.
My uncle and my aunt were pastors at one point at that 17th
Oh, wow.
church.
Great.
Fred and Jane Gomez.
The Gomez's, yes.
Dave Gomez is my relative. That was my mother's my grandmother on my mother's side. That was her sister, Jane Gomez.
Okay.
And so very familiar with the church, and it then became the Harvest Assembly of God in later years. But what a rich history in this area that church has had for so many years. So
Yeah.
yes.
So my grandpa, Ramon, he lost his wife, and then he remarried, and I believe he married a Gomez.
Oh yeah.
We called her Chelo. And Dave Gomez, and
Yeah, those names are sounding familiar to me that Dave has talked about. With,
okay.
and
then the Ortegas,
Yes.
Art Ortega, and others. They were great
the
musicians.
Fred Ortega band. Yes.
The Olivareses
Oh yeah.
out of the Monte Olivo
Mhm.
Pentecostal Spanish church.
Gilbert Olivares. Yes.
Yes,
I
and
know
they
the
had
whole family.
My aunt still has one of their records.
Oh yeah.
And my dad bought it back in the day, and we'd hear that all the time. So many roots here, a lot of, different
Well,
things.
Let's talk about the book. I want to read something by Rachel Moreno, who's also an author, I'm finding out about.
Yes.
She says, in the fall, we returned to school where teachers would often assign the first writing task, my summer vacation. So we wrote about Lake Michigan, the Cherry Festival, the parade, and the beaches, but omitted the daily work in the hot sun. That work provided shoes, clothes, and school supplies, and a kind of vacation. This book, that's Carlos's book, The Vacation, brings back those memories. That was from Rachel Moreno. And then I just want the introduction here, The Vacation. That's this book here, written by Carlos Fuentes, a teenage migrant farm worker's experience picking cherries in Michigan is a coming-of-age story that intertwines the bonds of family and friends, emphasizes the importance of heritage, captures the sweetness of first love, and showcases the quiet dignity of hard work. Okay, so we're going to break this down because there's some good stuff right there, right? Okay, so this is kind of your story, or is it a fictional account based on your story? Tell us a little bit about that.
It is not fiction.
Okay.
It's a real deal. And the bulk of a lot of the story takes place in 1969. And that's the last year that the majority of cherry farmers in the Traverse City area wanted and needed farm workers.
Okay.
In 1970, the majority went with mechanized harvesting, so the cherry shaker machines.
Really?
Yes, but
Wow.
okay, so I say 1969, but my grandpa Fuentes, my dad's father, I already mentioned he was a Pentecostal preacher coming from McAllen, Texas. He picked for the same two cherry farmers for 22 years.
Wow.
Up there out of Lake Leelanau, Michigan.
I've heard that before, yes.
It's north of Traverse City. And he worked for Herrick Waterman, the cherry farmer, and Ted Ash. So growing up hearing all the stories, that my relatives would talk about La Cherry Dulce. As soon as I heard them say La Cherry Dulce, they would be laughing and stuff because they had so many great memories.
Yeah.
And then growing up, too, well, let me back up a little bit. My parents, when they got married, they settled out of the migrant field stream, and they settled in Elma, Michigan. And but they would go up during the cherry season, and us kids would go too, myself and my siblings, for like a 3 to like a 5-day weekend, and we'd pick cherries for a couple of days. But mainly it was to reunite with relatives that were still in the migrant farm stream coming up mainly from Texas.
Oh, wow.
And my parents wanted to see them.
Yeah.
And of course, being their kids, were with them as well. And so I have these treasured memories of all those times going up. You know, we stay in the barns, you know, and stuff there in the Esch farm and all that. And my grandpa would conduct his Pentecostal services in the barns.
Wow.
Well, the barn.
The barn,
Yeah.
You know, it's something because what comes to my mind in hearing you say this, because I've heard this through my family too, some of the same verbiage and stories in the barns. I remember last December I had traveled to Texas, San Antonio, to cover the last concert of the Tejano singer Elida Reina. And she talked about one of her favorite memories as a young girl when it was just her and her parents. They would come up to Leelanau to a barn, and they would, can you believe that? This, you know, the Tejano star, Elida Reina, and she loved Michigan, and she loved to pick the cherries, and she was only like 5 years old, and she says that was one of her greatest memories. And they would sit around and sing, and you know, and that's where she found her love for Michigan. So that's really something. And then I got to say that a lot of times when I've talked with family members through the years or what have you, there was like a mesh of families that came together in Traverse City that may have lived in different areas, not necessarily all in Saginaw. Some may have lived in Macomb Township or whatever in Michigan, but they would meet all up at the Cherries picking time in Traverse City, and there was always a love affair going on with the young people. Some so-and-so like so-and-so, and you know,
Romance.
Yeah, there was kind of a romance. I don't know what they were putting in those cherries, because I've heard these stories, and I'm talking about the Floreses here in Saginaw, with the Diaz family here. From New Haven. I'm just mentioning names of family there. I'm probably going to get in trouble. But anyways, so, you know, this is a connection to you as well in your book, because you're talking about a romance that happened, and you write about in this book as well, right?
Yes. Letty Gamboa from McAllen, Texas.
Yeah, she was a migrant worker that came up.
Yes. I was 14 that year, 1969.
Wow.
And she was 13, and she was hanging out with my younger cousins, and I was hanging out with my cousins, you know, the girls I just mentioned, their older brother, Decky, and he's one of the main characters in the book, and they're from Archibald, Ohio, and they were up there. They'd always go up there to pick the cherries for the whole season and stuff. When I saw Letty, oh my God, oh my God,
wow. Well, you know, that that time frame, you're talking 1969, the Summer of Love, isn't that what they called it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the music, Woodstock, the music,
yes.
Everything was just, it was a beautiful year if we look back at that time. And I'm sure probably the music had something to do with it as well. I don't know, but did you experience that as well, where other people were having crushes, or young people were having crushes in the barns or at that, you know, picking cherries? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm really enjoying this. This is so fun. Well, one, it wasn't when I was there, but after I wrote my book and all that, and I had interviewed different relatives who were up there, but one memory, and I wish that he would have told me, because I would have put it in the book. He says, yeah, my older brother, so my Uncle Quine, my dad's oldest brother, he would sneak out with his girlfriend, and they'd go to the little cemetery between the Waterman farm and the Esch farm. And I go up there every year. I was just back. I went a couple of times during the cherry season, which just ended. And I have a cherry farmer friend that knew the Watermans and the Esches, and Julius Caleric. He lets me go in his orchards, and after they've gone and shaken, there's still a lot of cherries, and he lets me go in there and glean.
Wow.
That's how you got those cherries.
Yeah, look at Carlos brought me actual cherries. So these are from Traverse City too, huh?
They're from Sutton's Bay.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
where Julius Caleric has hundreds of acres of cherries and apples.
Wow.
And but anyway, yeah,
that's really nice. And like I said in the opening, I think that many of our community members in our community have stories or have heard stories of their family, their grandparents, or even some I know that they themselves have picked cherries. My father always talked about that, and I remember probably around 1975-ish, about 50 years ago, he took all the family and we all went up and picked cherries. Even some of my cousins that were staying in Traverse City on Silver Lake, they all went with us. We have home footage of that.
Oh, wow.
time.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so that's really nice. My uncle Lupio Blanco and his kids, and we got up on those ladders as well and picked those cherries, and then everybody ate them on the way home. To Saginaw, back to Saginaw. I remember that. So this is something that I think that really, as we talk about the roots of our roots here in Saginaw, and so many families and so many connections, and the connection of having these stories, really make our history and culture so vital within our own minds still to this day. And so I really commend you for writing this book, The Vacation, a teenage migrant farm worker's memoir, because not very many have done this, where they have been published, to write this story. And I've been writing a book for years myself, but life catches up with you and you get really busy. And if you don't set aside time to actually do it, it won't happen. But I'm seeing more and more Latinos who are writing and writing stories. And you mentioned Raquel also has a book. If you could show that to
Sure.
my audience. It's a book by Raquel Moreno, and it's called My Sugar Beet Summer. So it's kind of in line with what Carlos has done. She's from Saginaw originally and writes about the sugar beets, in picking sugar beets and harvesting sugar beets in the area, probably in Bay City.
Well,
Sebewaing, those towns where Sebewaing's known for the pickles, Bay City's known for the sugar beets, Dad told me so many vegetables and fruits that he picked through the years, and he started out as a migrant worker from Uvalde, Texas, and came up here to the Saginaw area, and then they eventually just stayed, like so many families. And it's a really beautiful, rich history. And like I said, I commend you for doing the book, because we need to tell these stories. And that's part of the whole reason why we have this show, Mi Gente, on air, is because in 1995 I started Mi Gente, the magazine, which was first a newspaper, because I wanted to tell our story. And if not us, then who? Who is going to say it? Because they will write about us, and it may not necessarily always be true. But so The Vacation. Tell me what is the highlight of this book? What's that will grab the reader's attention?
Depending on who the reader is, but I think you've hit a lot on a lot of us Mexican Americans. There are a lot of names out there through the years. I remember the podcast that you're on is seems like every 5 years there's a name change of who we are: Mexican Americans, Chicanos, Latinx, on and on and on.
Yeah.
I like to call myself Mexican American.
Yeah, so do I.
And so this book will resonate with a lot of us who, as you said, we settled in here. Our families were in the migrant field stream. Many came from Texas, and some from Mexico. And after the years, our families began to settle here in Michigan. And so I think that's it's going to resonate with a lot of our people, and they're going to find their own things in there that say, wow, yeah, I remember that.
They can relate to.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. And so how does someone like yourself comes from a family that lived in Alma, Michigan. Goes on and gets pretty educated. You have a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
You've traveled the world. How does that happen? We're going to talk about that. We're going to go into commercial in a minute here, but I really want to get into that because I think that I'm a traveler myself. Love to travel, and I think that really opens the door to possibilities to look back sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
At your memories and give you the fortitude to actually go forth and write a book like The Vacation. So we're going to talk about that. But first tell me, before we go into break, how does somebody get a hold of The Vacation?
Well, a person can buy it through their independent bookstore. That's what I really would prefer somebody to do, is to support our independent bookstores. We have a lot of giants in this world, right? And a lot of us use those giants, like Meyer and on and on.
Yeah.
But man, I have something in my heart for the independent bookstores. And so, even though they might be carrying it, but if they are not, they can order the book.
Okay.
And in a few days, you can have the book. The other way is it is on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
And you can buy it.
So if you just like the convenience of Amazon, even though we don't want to push that, it is available on Amazon as well. So we're going to be right back. We're going to talk more with Carlos Fuentes about his book, The Vacation, a teenage migrant farm worker's memoir, when we come back.
$4.99% for
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back, everybody. Larry Rodarte here. I am in the studio here at Connoisseur Media, and we are talking with author Carlos Fuentes here on Mi Gente on Air. Thank you for tuning in. Carlos Fuentes wrote a book, The Vacation. This is your first book you've published?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was that this was a book that was awarded as what's it called? The Notable Book for 2026.
Yeah, a Michigan Notable Book.
Michigan Notable Book, okay. And that's what you see here on the emblem. What does it take to get that type of award for your book?
Somebody can nominate the book, and in my case, as soon as I had it published and all that, I went up to the Traverse City area, which I called the epicenter of the book. That's Cherryland, right?
Yeah.
La Cherry Dulce. And I started talking to different independent bookstores up there. And so the second bookstore I talked to, the first one was Leland All Books, and she immediately loved the book and is carrying it. They're in beautiful Leland, Fishtown, yeah. And then a little bit farther north is Northport. Okay. And Pamela Grath is the owner of that Dog Ears Books. And I met her, and we just connected. We talked for about 25 minutes. She loved the book. And then she emailed me, I think a month later, and says, I just want you to know that I nominated your book for this. And I'd never even heard of this award.
Yeah.
And then so I got connected and all that, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's awesome. I remember being 10 years old. My family would always go up to Traverse City, of course. We first were in a trailer park, and I can't remember the name of it, but I remember how special that was to, of course, like Raquel had said about the Cherry Festival and the parade. I remember when Gerald Ford was there and came in 1975, I want to say, and I recall that. But one of the real special visits that we would have was always going to downtown Traverse City, and there was a bookstore right there. I remember, and my mom always, pushed us to read and everything, and that was just that was kind of like our vacation. But I'm sure that's probably one of the stores that also carries the book now, yes, because it's still there. I believe the bookstore in downtown.
Horizon Books on Front Street, right there in the heart of Traverse City, and actually I was book signing. That's what they call it. A couple of weeks ago during the World Cup.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. So they're carrying my book and had a great time there.
Wow, that's very special.
Mhm.
I had just such fond memories of Traverse City, and my siblings will say the same. We were up there every summer until I was 18 and went to Michigan State University.
Go Green.
Yeah, go green, go white. And, I cherish those times. They were much peaceful times compared to today. And my father would leave us up there because he was busy building homes here in Saginaw during those years, and he would leave us kids with Mom, and we had an uncle and aunt also that was coming up, and we'd have other cousins come up, and it just was a really beautiful time. And I was excited when I saw that you were writing about that, and like I said, we connected. Any Mexican American family pretty much in Saginaw is going to have some type of connection to the cherry picking.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you were able to come on the show. We could talk about it and all. You have illustrations by Kirsten. I better put my glasses on.
Yeah.
What's her
Kristen
name?
Wassel.
Wassel. Okay.
Yes.
And so she actually did. Is there illustration in the book? Or is it, you're talking about the ones?
No, there are some. There's several
okay.
in there, and there's a in the front. There's a table of contents. If you do want to see some table of contents.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then on page 8.
Okay, so
the Roman numeral.
how did you actually? As I'm looking at the table of contents, and you have like a specific day, Monday, July 21st, 1969. How do you actually pinpoint the day? And actually,
Well, I
did
had
you keep a journal, or
I had
what was
a
it?
journal, which is lost now, but I had a journal, and I would keep a journal throughout my high school years, and then here and there, and now for years I keep what I call an activity log, just like what did I do this day, things down.
Okay.
Yeah, so that really helped me out.
Wow, yeah, I guess. In the book, there's great historical pictures of his family, his father, the pastor, and is there any of you as a young individual?
There is, again, like I told you that we would go up there since childhood throughout the years. On page 261 at the bottom, there's a picture of, I'm the second to the right.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Little shy Bobby.
Oh.
I'm not shy anymore.
Okay, so they called you Bobby?
Yes.
How did they get Bobby out of Carlos?
Well, the in the front of the book it says Robert Carlos Fuentes.
Oh,
Carlos
I see.
is in parentheses.
Okay, so they called you Bobby.
So that's my nickname. And so on my passport and all that is Robert, but nobody would call me Robert growing up. It was Bobby. And then later it turned to Bob.
Yeah.
And then I got tired of Bob and said, no, call me Carlos.
And then there's your grandparents, Robert.
Yes.
Reverend Clemente and Eucaria.
Eucaria.
Wow. Fuentes, yeah.
Yeah.
See, those names seem familiar to me for some reason, but they probably have something to do with the 17th church, which I was just by there yesterday, actually. And it's still up, the 17th church.
So now I remember the Martinezes or Martinezes in Castillos were my relatives on my mom's side here in Saginaw.
Oh,
and they
okay.
went to the 17th church. And then some of them, I think, later on went to the Monte Olivo church there. Was that Bridgeport? Whatever, with the Olivareses, where they went.
Yeah. Well, the Olivares had, there was Gilbert Olivares, and he had two brothers, and they sang as the Latin.
I'm
forgetting too, and we gave them an award. The Unión Cívica Mexicana gave them an award, Adelante Award, for their contributions in music. And anybody can see on YouTube the actual video when we awarded them, and they were all alive at that time. Gilbert has passed on.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
they were great musicians.
Yeah, and it's really a nice video because we did it within the backdrop of their music, and so you can actually hear some of those songs and all. And Gilbert's son Patrick Olivares and his wife Maria Olivares are very many people are familiar with them because she has a tres leche cake that's very popular in the area as well. And so, and then they were also members of the Civica at one time and were very helpful. And just recently, their son Maximilian has put his bid out this week for city council, so he's going to be running for city council.
Wow!
Yeah,
all right.
So there's a lot happening there, huh? And that's all stems from Gilbert Olivares and his wife. Great family, you know. I'm sure. I remember interviewing Gilbert, and I'm sure that within the interview for that award, there was discussions about them also picking cherries in Traverse City. You know, it just and we talked about the 17th Church and my connection with the Gomeses and all.
Yeah.
So
well, my dad was friends with probably I think Gilbert, and they were chasing girls together.
Yeah, in '69. Yeah,
well, for them it'd be
a little earlier, right?
in the late '40s and early '50s. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, because I remember him telling the stories about how him and his wife, they met actually down in Texas and came by bus with 37 cents, I think, in their pocket, and arrived in Saga. So I hear the story. You know, I can hear him telling it, and in that video that I was referencing. You'll hear that story where Gilbert had told me, and we put that in the video for their award. So, but what else can you tell me about the vacation? How hard is it for you or anybody who has a story that wants to put it to book form? How hard is that process?
It is hard, but it's doable, and really. I'm thinking right now, be persistent and have a passion and think of the end in mind, that once it's done, that there's a record. And not just for you, but for our people and for the world. You know? And so I'd say I actually had this self-published.
Okay.
And I found out that, I retired from Michigan State University. You mentioned already that I got a graduate degree from there, but I worked there for 22 years in student affairs and services and loved it, had a lot of student interaction. But and I lived 15 minutes from campus, and once I had finished the manuscript and had it checked out, if it's a go, getting rid of as many errors as possible, it was ready for production, to get it formatted, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know where to go. I was brand new to this. Again, let me just say that I worked in student affairs and services, retired, but also retired from the United States Army.
Oh, wow.
So I was an aircraft mechanic for 22 years. And so if you say, oh, well, you were a writer all of your life. No, I wasn't. I was just, I had these thousands of memories in my head, and through my years, just carrying them with me. I said, man, these are precious. And I said, I can't let them go.
Yeah, wow.
Can't let them go. And but then I found out about the self-publishing unit at Michigan State University, and Julie Taylor runs that unit there at the library on campus. And she was a godsend. I mean, she showed me how to format the book, put it, record it at the Library of Congress, how to do the copyright, everything that I needed to know, how to put it on Amazon, and
oh, that's awesome.
Put it on the website where independent bookstores and libraries use. It's called ingramspark.com. They have their own website where they purchase their books, and my book is through that too. So all of these things, all these details that I had no idea how to do it, she really helped me out.
Nice. Well,
and they can, and I guess what I want to say, they can help you out too, whoever is interested in self-publishing.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need more of. We need more Latinos, Mexican Americans telling the story, and publishing like this. It's, I'm adamant about that because, in 1995 there were a few publications for newspapers about Latinos, and part of the whole reason why I did it, and I've said it on my show before, is, Selena, the Tejano singer, had passed away at that time, was murdered. And I was really upset about that, of course. But I was really upset with Howard Stern, who made such derogatory remarks about Selena, made fun of her passing, played her music on his show and then had gunshots in the background being, and said that she worshipped a velvet Jesus, and just said these things. And then Linda Ronstadt, Mexican-American singer, queen of rock in those days in the 70s, and then, everything she did in the 80s, she defended Selena, and she took to issue Howard Stern on the Late Show with Jay Leno with Robin Givens. They had an actual feud on the air because she took to task what they had said about Selena, and so I mean, so that prompted me as well to say, what, I remember my fiance, she said, you should just start your own publication. I said, and then within 3 months I had the first issue out, and Selena was on the cover. So that was 31 years ago. And that, as a result of that, is why we have a show like Mi Gente on Air today, who, and that wasn't something that I sought out. The management here, it was Alpha Media at that time, not Connoisseur, and they asked me to do a show such as Mi Gente on Air so that there could be more diversity within this programming, especially after George Floyd had passed away the way he did. So that's kind of how and that's why the reason I'm saying all this is because we need to publish our own stories. We need to tell our stories more so, and continue to push that narrative with our young people to, influence them and to tell them to write the stories, because it's a whole different experience. And from what you experience, from what I experience, is a whole different story of what our young people today are experiencing as Latinos,
Yes.
Especially with this whole immigration issue and everything else that's going on. So but the story continues.
Yes, and I had I was selling books at ties into what you're saying, the Dia de la Mujer conference, the annual conference at Michigan State University, and they gave me a table to sell the books there, and it was very successful. And if you don't know about the conference, it's an all-women conference at MSU. Been going on for years.
30-some years.
30-some years. And to hear some of the young ones that came to my table, he says, "Oh, I loved hearing my grandma telling the stories about when she picked cherries."
Yeah.
My grandma and grandpa, or my aunt, or they would say, yeah, my mom.
Yeah.
She would just always talk about when she went, that. Oh my God, you don't know what that did to me. It's just like, whoa, it just pumped me up.
and see, that's kind of the, when I got your call and you told me about this, it just resonated right away, because there's something magical about hearing about my father picking cherries in Traverse City. It's like you call it the vacation, and I think in many of children, they see it as a magical time, a magical place. Even though it was very hard work for the individual who was actually picking the cherries, but they were special times. They were just special times within their fellow cherry pickers or family, or on my mom's whole side, many of my aunts on the Diaz family of Saginaw, they were up there with their families, and the Meddells, the Strickers, all of my cousins always talk about picking cherries in Traverse City. So I mean, it's a magical time. And like I said, when we promoted this show with you as my guest, somebody really related to the idea of calling it the vacation when they and their families would go to Traverse City to pick cherries. Michaela Hernandez. And so I totally can relate to that. I'm a board member for the Castle Museum of Saginaw. I'd love to have this at the castle and to have it being sold there. So
I'd love it.
We have to make that connection,
All
because this really resonates with many of the Mexican American families here. I'm sure in Saginaw, and being that you are born actually in Saginaw, although you lived here a month, and then went to Alma and now in Lansing. I mean, it's very fitting, I think, and I'm proud that you really did this and had received the Michigan Notable Book Award. So that's really something. Is there anything else you want to share? We talked in the beginning that this is going to be a 50-minute show. Mm-hmm. We're down to less than 4 minutes.
Oh, okay.
What else would you like to share?
Well, just the vacation. People ask when I do book talks, so why the vacation? Well, remind me to say that. But the other thing about the vacation is for those, and I heard this several times, where people, farm workers who picked cherries, they picked tomatoes, blueberries, they hoed in the fields and all that. Mm-hmm. And when they got to the cherries, it was a lot easier than picking tomatoes or strawberries when you're bending down or you're just crawling. Mm-hmm. And so they mentioned to me, they said, yeah, when we did the cherries, it was like a vacation. And then, but the reason why I call it the vacation is because my dad said that we were, and again, I'm 14 years old, and my older brother, Junior, that's his name in the book, my mom and dad said, yeah, we're going to go on a vacation. And we lived on the poor side of town in Alma. Nobody went on vacations. And so my dad says, yeah, we're going to be enjoying the great Michigan outdoors. We're going to have picnics. We're going to go to the lake and all this kind of stuff. And a little bit later on, we find out, yeah, we're going to have that stuff, but we're also going to be picking cherries 8.5 hours per day.
Wow.
And so why do we go to the lake? To take our baths after picking cherries. Why do we have picnics? Because that was our dinner at the park for the hot dogs or whatever. And the great outdoors, yeah, we're outside. And so my dad wasn't lying, but he wasn't saying everything.
Yeah, that's how he got you out there, huh? But hey, look at the memories you have. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I look back at my time in Traverse City as well, and I just recall Dad always talking about that, and it was a beautiful time, and I'm glad that someone like yourself, Robert Carlos Fuentes, Bob, wrote The Vacation, everybody. So please go out and try to find this book. He's pushing for independent booksellers at your local stores. I'm going to try to get this into the Castle Museum. I think that would be a great seller there. And read about The Vacation. And I'm sure that you're all going to be able to relate to it, So thank you, Carlos, for being with me here today.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. And you'll be able to catch this show on social media platforms, the different ones from WIOG to my own personal one, to Mi Gente on Air, to Mi Gente Magazine. There's a number of different ones. And so share this, everybody, with your family. Carlos, share it with your friends and family in Lansing. It helps also in the promotion of Mi Gente on Air, but it tells our story, and that's what we're doing here today. That's what Mr. Fuentes here is doing. He's telling his story. I'm telling my stories, and it's all part of Mi Gente and Mi Gente on Air. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air.
Rocket Grab Plus.